Aloha and welcome to Hawaii. My name is Victoria Vierstra, and I am currently working in the Special Education Department at Seeks Middle School as a skills trainer. While participating in the National Geographic Educator Certification Program, I took the opportunity to visit and teach my former students at Asia Pacific International School in Hauula, Hawaii. The 7th and 8th grade team was working on a project to create a restaurant for their school community. I knew that lessons created with the National Geographic Learning Framework in mind would connect perfectly and help expand the students' ideas and thinking. For my 2 lessons with this talented group of students, I focused on food waste to inspire the group to be more mindful of how they use Earth's precious resources as they create and run their restaurant. Before teaching the food waste lesson, I utilized National Geographic articles about food waste and created a compilation of photographs and captions to post around the classroom. We started off the lesson with a gallery walk. Students walked around the classroom as if in an art museum to observe the images and read the captions. They were instructed to look for the common theme. Once students returned to their table groups for discussion, they pretty easily identified that food waste would be the topic for the day. Students then dove into deepening their knowledge of food waste by reading one of 3 National Geographic articles. Students were instructed to identify a quote that they found interesting, significant, or thought-provoking. Students then independently facilitated discussion using the Save the Last Word protocol. I love using this protocol because it's a useful tool to create equitable sharing time and make sure all voices are heard. After the small group discussion, students utilized Lost en Route, a manipulative graphic that helps students differentiate between food loss and food waste. With this differentiation in mind, students were able to explore how the amount of food waste and food loss differs and compares in a variety of regions around the globe. This graphic launched our discussion of how economics, culture, politics, and ecology are affected by food waste and how they affect food waste. Each group then contributed their ideas to creating a collaborative thought map. The ecology group noted that aspects of our ecosystem affect food waste, such as decomposers, breaking down discarded food. They discussed how food waste also impacts our ecosystem by producing methane gas when disposed of in a landfill. Day 1 exposed the students to a lot of new information that furthered their understanding of food waste as a widespread global issue. While students were informed and inspired day 1, it was day 2 that they began thinking of ways they could make a difference as they create their restaurant and change their daily habits. When we gathered the following day for the second part of our food waste lesson, I started by sharing my appreciation of the students' engagement by sharing some highlights from the first day's activities. One thing I noticed during their group discussions was the amount of jaw-dropping that happened. For instance, when students shared quotes such as, "In America, we throw away enough food to fill one 90,000-seat stadium every day." You could see the students were just astonished by the amount of waste we're creating. I heard students say, "A carrot that is bent is just as nutritious and delicious as a carrot that is straight. That's ridiculous to throw it away." And most of all, I appreciated that they took responsibility for the problem. When asked, "Who's responsible for this?" their response was, "Us." Students explored 2 zero-waste restaurants, Xylo and Orphan's Kitchen. The introduction to these restaurants got the groups thinking about how they could create their restaurant to be zero waste. And students were also introduced to the idea of upcycling and to the cooking philosophy fin to tail and root to tip, in which all parts of the animal or plant is used. Prior to class, students had selected recipes they wanted to follow for their restaurant. They were instructed to analyze these recipes and find out what discarded food items would result when making their desired dish. Using the food recovery hierarchy that was introduced in one of the NatGeo articles, students were encouraged to figure out ways to utilize all food parts, from the most preferable way, feeding humans, to less preferred ways, such as composting. Students were able to avoid a lot of food waste by finding ways to use it for human consumption, such as creating vegetable stock with veggie scraps, using carrot tops for herbs, coconut shells as serving bowls, and planting seeds in the school garden. Students came up with ways to encourage customers to be less wasteful by allowing customers to decide their portion size based on their hunger, charging them for the weight of their waste, raising awareness about food by having statistics displayed in the restaurant, and gamifying waste reduction. Students also drafted letters to organizations like Hawaii Food Bank to see if they could utilize any leftover food. All their hard work paid off, and the students successfully ran a restaurant that produced minimal food waste and educated their customers about food systems. The fun didn't end at the restaurant, though. The few resulting food scraps were fed to black soldier fly larvae, just like the students read about in Surprising Ways to Solve Food Waste. Not only did the larvae convert food scraps to nutrient-rich soil, but they also served as the perfect feed for our school chickens. When we went to feed the chickens, that is when I really knew the students fully understood the food recovery hierarchy, as they said, "But wait! Feeding humans is preferred to feeding animals. Can't we eat the larva?" I didn't let that happen this time around, but the chickens sure did enjoy their treats.